Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from who do it well. Peace and salutation to the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Until I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. And I'm entitled this one, Trusting in the Devil's System has got you confused. Going into how majority of our people, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, have been fully invested in the system. The wicked of our people, the 2/3, to the point where they believe that this American life, going to work, getting these government benefits, especially the women, from food stamps, child support, alimony, whatever it may be, from the so-called white man, which is really Esau Edom. He has given all these benefits to our people to get them accustomed to rely on him. But ultimately, majority of our people, they're going to want all these benefits back, because you do have some members of the elect that rely on these benefits, but Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is going to get them through the tough times that we're about to come into. But for the wicked of our people, they have been fully invested in the system, and they haven't put their trust and faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua to keep them when all hell breaks loose during famine, when the sword, which is Esau Edom, comes down with that great wrath. Majority of our people are going to lose because they trusted this devil. They trusted Esau Edom to ultimately deliver them, from what's about to come upon the planet Earth. But it's going to be a snare and trap, because he's gonna offer that MOTB, that micro C-hip, which majority of our people are going to take, because they've trusted Esau Edom. They trusted the deceiver, the devil, and they're about to find out. Is Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. And it reads, "Woe to the rebellious children, said the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin." And majority of our people, they're rebellious. They don't want to trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. They rather trust in the devil and his wicked ass system, because it has gotten them fed all this time, through the food stamps, Section 8, welfare. But now, like Esau said, the well is running dry, and it's about to be cut off here very soon in these upcoming days. And majority of our people, they're going to be crying out. They're going to be bugging out because they don't have no food. Their deposit ain't hit, so they're going to completely bug out. Verse 2, they walk down to go into Egypt and have not asked my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. And we're in the spiritual Egypt today. Just like in the ancient times, Jake didn't want to leave Egypt. They wanted to stay behind. They wanted to enjoy the melons and the leeks. Jake is in that same spirit today. They don't want to leave America behind. They want to enjoy the food stamp benefits and the Section 8 and the welfare and the child support and all the GMO food, because Jake has gotten so accustomed to America, which is Babylon the Great. But now they're finding out, for what happens when you trust in this devil. Ultimately, he cuts you off. Now that he's got the job done of separating the Israelite family, taking the men out the house, having these women to be so-called independent, because they got these food stamps and these child support checks and these Section 8 vouchers. Now you can't tell these women shit, but now they're about to find out too, because they're about to have their food stamps cut off. And that's only the beginning. Sooner or later, the Section 8 is going to get cut off as well, along with that child support. And all these people that have relied on this system, they're about to find out what happens when you trust in the so-called white man, Esau Edom. Verse 3, says, therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your confusion, or be your shame, and trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. And that's what's about to happen. Majority of our people, they're confused because they thought that, he was going to renew the food stamps, the SNAP benefits. But now that Esau, Edom said to hell with that, y'all need to get a job. Y'all need to stop being lazy. Y'all need to get off y'all ass. That's ultimately Esau, Edom saying, to hell with Jake. And ultimately, it's Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai who's behind it, because our people have gotten so comfortable and used to Babylon that they don't want to leave it. But the Lord is putting that squeeze upon our people through Esau, Edom, by cutting off all these different benefits so our people could, repent and turn back to Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai and rely on the Lord. But majority of our people, they're not going to do that. This is Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. And that is the case for majority of our people. And even us, before we came into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we were trusting in Esau, Edom. We were trusting in his philosophies and in the American dream. You could work hard and get a job and be equal like the so-called white man, which we know it was all bullshit. But majority of our people, they're still in that spirit. They're still in that deep slumber, believing that Esau, Edom is for him. That he's not wicked, that he's changed his ways, which we know, he's never going to change his ways. But through all those smooth speeches that he puts out, especially Donald Trump, a lot of our people went out there and voted, for this man. But now that he's cutting all these benefits off, now they're crying out like, damn, I thought you were for us. I thought you were for making America great again, which we know that ultimately it was a snare and trap to get these people to vote for him. But now that they've been stabbed in the back by who they believe that somehow was going to save the American dream, the American economy, and everything was going to bounce back, it's all bullshit. But now our people are finding out the hard way. This is Psalms 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that's these Edomites, these so-called white people. They deceive a lot of our people by, the smooth speeches. If you vote for me, if you do this, just like in the garden, that's how Eve, got, supplanted. She got deceived by that serpent, which was really a man. And that's how our people are getting deceived today. Like, if you vote for me, it's going to benefit you. I'm not going to take your food stamps away. I'm not going to take your Section 8. I'm going to give you more jobs. I'm going to make the economy better. The dollar is going to go up in value again. But what is he doing? He's doing the complete opposite. He's collapsing the economy. He's taking all these different benefits away from all these women, children, to the point, now they don't have nothing to eat. And it's about to get very bad with these famines. And Esau, Edom, he's going to come down with those smooth words again. He's going to say, hey, okay, you want to eat? You got to take this micro C-hip. You got to take this MOTB if you want to eat again. The majority of our people, they're going to be deceived by Esau, Edom's words again. Because ultimately, they've always put their trust in this double system. So now that he's telling them, take this micro C-hip and you'll be good. And our people are going to fall for it once again. The wicked of our people, the 2/3. This is Jeremiah chapter 13 and verse 23. Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leper his spots? Then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil. And Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, was created to do nothing but wickedness, nothing but evil. He wasn't created to do good. But majority of our people, they don't get that. They don't think that the so-called white man can do nothing but evil. Some of our people think that he's good. And somehow there's a righteous Edomite out there, which we know there's not. But our people still have this belief. Somehow the so-called white man could give the Israelites reparations and, apologize for slavery. which we know even if they do, it's not sincere. They don't really feel remorse for what they did to the Israelites, but yet our people still trust in this devil. So Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, the devil, the enemy, the adversary of the nation of Israel, he can never change his ways because he was created solely to be the wicked. He was created to destroy the earth. He was created to destroy the nations, to put everybody in slavery. But ultimately, he was created for all this wickedness so the earth can see, okay, this is what happens when you run the earth in complete wickedness. You're going to get put out of your rulership position, and then you're going to be put off out of the planet Earth by becoming extinct. And that's ultimately what these Edomites deserve for deceiving the whole world. This is Psalms chapter 118 and verse 8. And it reads, "It is better to trust in the Lord, Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shai, than to put confidence in men." And majority of our people, they put in trust and confidence in Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. They put in trust in this American dream and Babylon the Great and the U.S. dollar. But ultimately it says it's better to trust in Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shai. Verse 9, it is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes. That's what our people are doing. They're still putting confidence, trust. They're still invested in this system, knowing damn well it's collapsing. Here the government is shut down, but you still have our people thinking that everything's fine, thinking that everything's okay. But they're about to find out the hard way of what happens to those who trust in man, especially Esau, Edom. Instead of trusting in Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shai, ultimately they're about to be put in the dust, into confusion. They're not going to know what the hell hit them because of all the wickedness that they've done. Thinking that somehow Esau, Edom was going to fix everything, which we know that he's not. But, that's the mindset of our people. Thinking that Esau, Edom is somehow for our people. That he has our better interest, that he's not going to stab us in the back. But what has he done his whole existence? Always, stab Jake from behind. From the time that we were a nation coming out of Egypt, Amalek coming from behind, up to the transatlantic slave trade, coming down on the northern kingdom. And now he's coming down with that great wrath again because he knows that he has a short time. But yet, majority of our people still believe in this devil. But they're about to find out the hard way of what happens when you trust in the so-called white man. Ultimately, they're going to get destroyed. But that's pretty much the point. I pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone, who are learned this truth from and who do it well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Unto you I say shalom.